The day I left Daniel, it was raining. Not the soft, comforting rain that poets wrote about. It was cold, heavy, and relentless, as if the sky itself understood how my heart felt. Each drop against my skin reminded me that some endings were necessary, even when they hurt. 3 years. 3 years of love, loyalty, and sacrifice, all reduced to a single truth I could never ignore again. He had betrayed me. I stood outside the apartment we once shared, holding a single suitcase. The home that had once felt warm and full of dreams now looked like a stranger's place. I could still hear his voice from the night before. It didn't mean anything, he had said, but betrayal always meant something. It meant broken trust. It meant broken promises. It meant broken pieces of me. I didn't cry anymore. I had cried enough already. Instead, I turned around and walked away. I had no idea that this painful ending would lead me to a love I never imagined. The next few months were the hardest of my life. I rented a small apartment on the edge of the city. It was quiet, simple, and lonely, but it was mine. Every morning, I forced myself to wake up, dress professionally, and go to work. I had always been hardworking, even when Daniel had told me I didn't need to be. "You'll have me," he used to say. "I'll take care of everything." But now, I understood something important. The only person I could truly rely on was myself. I worked as a junior analyst at a large corporate firm. The pay wasn't extraordinary, but it was enough. I kept my head down, focused on my tasks, and avoided unnecessary conversations. Love was no longer something I trusted. Until the day he walked into the office. Alexander Hayes, the billionaire CEO. Everyone knew his name. He was the kind of man people admired from a distance. Powerful, intelligent, calm, and completely unreachable. The entire office became tense when he arrived. Conversations stopped. People straightened their posture. Even the air felt different. I tried not to look at him, but somehow I noticed everything. He wasn't loud. He didn't demand attention. Yet he commanded it naturally. His presence was steady, like someone who knew exactly who he was. He walked past my desk without noticing me. And strangely, I was relieved. Weeks passed, and life continued as usual, until one evening changed everything. I was the last person in the office, finishing a report that had to be submitted by morning. Everyone else had gone home hours ago. I didn't mind staying late. Work was easier than thinking about the past. I was so focused that I didn't notice someone standing nearby. "You're still here." The voice was calm, deep, and unfamiliar. I looked up quickly. It was him. Alexander Hayes. My heart skipped in surprise. I needed to finish this report," I said, suddenly nervous. He glanced at the screen, then back at me. "Most people would leave it for tomorrow." I hesitated before answering. "I prefer finishing what I start." He studied me for a moment, not in a cold or judgmental way, just observant. Then he nodded slightly. "That's rare." He walked away without another word. But for some reason, that small interaction stayed in my mind. After that night, I began noticing him more often. Not because I wanted to, but because he noticed me too. He would occasionally stop by my desk to ask about projects. His questions were precise, thoughtful. He listened carefully to my answers. He never spoke down to me. He treated me like my thoughts mattered. That alone was enough to confuse me. I had spent so long feeling invisible that his attention felt unfamiliar. One afternoon, after a meeting, he said something unexpected. "You have potential." I blinked, unsure how to respond. He continued, "You see details others miss." No one had ever said that to me before. Not even Daniel. Especially not Daniel. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen. Months passed, and slowly my life began to change. Alexander promoted me to a higher position. Not because of favoritism, but because of my work. He was fair, professional, and kind. He never crossed boundaries, never made me uncomfortable. He simply supported me. One evening, after a long day, he asked, "Have you eaten?" I shook my head. I was busy. He paused, then said gently, "You shouldn't neglect yourself." Those words hit me harder than they should have, because Daniel had never cared about things like that. Alexander did, not in a dramatic way, but in quiet, consistent ways. And that was what made it real. I didn't realize when respect turned into trust, or when trust turned into something deeper. It happened slowly, Like sunrise. One night, after finishing another late project, I found him waiting near the elevator. "I'll walk you to your car," he said. "You don't have to," I replied. "I know." That simple answer made my chest tighten. He wasn't doing it because he had to. He was doing it because he wanted to. Outside, the air was cool and peaceful. We walked in silence for a moment. Then he spoke. "You work hard." I smiled faintly. "I have to." He stopped walking. "You deserve more than survival." I looked at him, surprised. His eyes were calm but sincere. In that moment, I realized something. He wasn't just seeing my work. He was seeing me. The day he confessed his feelings, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rushed. It was honest. "I care about you," he said simply. No pressure. No expectations. Just truth. My first instinct was fear, because love had hurt me before. But Alexander wasn't Daniel. He never made promises he couldn't keep. He showed his feelings through actions, through patience, through respect. "I'm afraid," I admitted. He nodded. "I know." He didn't try to convince me. He didn't try to rush me. He just stayed. And that was when I realized something important. Love wasn't supposed to feel like fear. It was supposed to feel like safety. We got married a year later. The ceremony was small and peaceful. No unnecessary attention. No pressure. Just two people choosing each other. Life with him was different from anything I had ever known. He never controlled me. He never made me feel small. He encouraged my dreams, supported my decisions, protected my heart, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Every morning, he would ask if I slept well. Every evening, he would ask how my day was, not out of habit, but out of genuine care. For the first time in my life, I felt cherished. One day, unexpectedly, I saw Daniel again. He looked surprised, regretful. "You look happy," he said. I was, but I didn't need to say it. He could see it, because happiness changes you. It gives you peace, confidence, strength. "I'm glad you're doing well," I replied calmly. And I meant it, not because he deserved my kindness, but because I deserved my peace. I walked away without looking back, because my past no longer defined me. That night, Alexander was waiting for me at home. He smiled when he saw me. "You're late." "I know," I said softly. He walked closer. "Everything okay?" I nodded. "Yes." Because it was. He didn't ask more questions. He simply trusted me, and that trust meant everything. He reached for my hand, holding it gently, not to possess me, but to remind me that I wasn't alone. I realized then that love wasn't about grand gestures. It was about presence, consistency, care. He had given me something no one else ever had. Security, respect, belonging. Leaving Daniel had been the hardest decision of my life, but it had led me here, to a man who valued me, to a life where I was not just loved, but cherished, not because I needed saving, but because I deserved happiness. And every day, Alexander reminded me of that truth, not with words, but with actions, and that was the kind of love that lasted forever.